When people say, I invest in property, what do you think the motivation is? Or rather, let me ask you, what is the motivation for you to get into property? What does property mean to you? So is it because you need a secondary backup income? Is it because you need a retirement plan? Is it because you want to get out of the 9 to 5 and you want to use your spare time to do things that really lift you up and inspire you, but have a property portfolio that pays for your bills, right? So what is it that property means to you? For some people, like my guest today, it means standing up for themselves. It means showcasing their abilities, their talent. Getting into property means also providing a safe space to raise families. So yes, whilst property can be very lucrative and very financially rewarding, sometimes it's a personal achievement that you want to get out of property. And so today I'd like to interview a Leeds-based property portfolio owner. So not only does she own her own portfolio of properties, she's actually also a specialist broker. So she gets herself properties, but she also helps other people get access to properties as well. She's grown her multi-million pound portfolio, providing, as I said, a safe place to raise families through rentals and to diverse groups, through rentals to diverse groups. And this is what I meant about diversifying, and also what I meant about standing up for yourself and really proving your self-worth. Not to anyone else, but to yourself, because she said when applying to come onto the show that despite being labelled the black sheep in school, her determination is what led her to success. So from a Punjabi family that she's from, she initially worked in retail with family-owned convenience stores, as that is typically of that culture. But now, as a specialist broker, as a specialist mortgage broker, she uses her expertise to help ordinary people become successful property investors. And that property has enabled her to support her lifestyle while retraining in her current role. So now that she is in the property world, not only as an investor, but also as a broker, she's really been able to change her life around and those of her customers. So without further ado, I am so honored to bring to you today as a Money Honey guest on the Money Honey podcast, Jessica.
Thanks, Rose. Thanks so much.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really great. Thank you so much. We were just talking offline about my winter sun vacation that I just took in Morocco, and it was so well worth it. So yeah, I've just had a nice short break. So I feel refreshed and happy to speak to you today.
Brilliant.
So Jessica, I've given you an intro as to what I know about you. And I met you actually through a property networking event, and I saw you. I knew you were going to be my person. You were dancing. We were on the dance floor together. We were having cocktails, and I was like, this is my person. She is full of life and full of excitement. And you don't often get that a lot in the mortgage world. Like it's not about parties and fun and things like that, but you inject that fun in your work. So for those people who are new to you, have not met you before, for the listeners tuning in and learning more about you, please tell us all, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I am Jessica. So there's two aspects to me. First is landlord, property investor, and I've done that for 15 years. And my whole ethos and way of doing things is to provide families a safe environment to grow their lovely families. I mainly rent to social housing, so low income families, and it is a kind of feel good factor. Not many landlords like to do it because the money isn't as good as if we were renting to professionals. But on the flip side, I have long-standing tenants that are loyal. I'd say, yeah, definitely loyal, because they stay with me, and as a landlord, I don't tend to really raise the rents either, because I understand that they've got a family like me. That's one aspect to me. The other aspect is the mortgages. So I have got a finance background. I used to be a bank manager and came from the old days of RBS. And I left there 10 years ago. And my love of mortgages was always there. And I used to help friends over the years secure their stuff, not obviously advising them, but just giving them tips. And, when things changed with my previous business, because I used to have a shop, I decided, what do I want to do? What do I want to get back to? And I thought, I want to go back into my first love. I want to do mortgages and I want to be a broker. So I went back into that area. And don't get me wrong, I love the residential side of things, and I do residential mortgages. But my actual choice, what I actually love, is the buy-to-let market. And because I've grown my portfolio to 23 now, I have got a vast experience. And I thought, why can't I help other individuals grow portfolios? And that's why I became a specialist broker.
Wow, there is so much I want to talk about in that intro. That was an amazing, concise and succinct intro. I can tell you've done that before. But that was the stuff that I want to pick out there is, number one, you are a landlord that today is not putting up their rent. How do you do it? Because with what's going on with the interest rates and what's going on with the cost of living, how are you able to keep, it's so honourable of you and it's so fantastic. And wow, I wish if I was to be anyone's tenant, I'd want to be your tenant. But how do you do that?
Yeah, look, I always look at the whole portfolio rather than just individual houses. So there's some landlords that will look each individual house and see how it's, whether it's producing income. And I don't really look at it like that. I look at the whole portfolio. So for example, if a property has become available, then the rent will go up for that one because there's nobody in it. Do you understand? Whereas the ones that they are let, why would you do that to people? And for example, I've only recently raised one of the rents by £20 or £30. Can't even remember, but it literally after 5 years, and I felt really hard, upset doing it. And I explained to my tenant, we had meetings. It's all about open communication as well, I think. But there's
that is, like I said, guys, that's really. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think there was a bit of a delay, honey. Sorry, that might happen again. I apologise. But no, I was just thinking, it is a really hard decision to make, because you said you've got loyal tenants.
Yeah,
I can see why. Obviously, that's great for them to have a 5-year guaranteed lower rent, and they won't be able to compete with that at all, with the rest of the market. But how did you get into property then? How did you start building up your portfolio?
Okay, so my dad did pass away, and he did have a portfolio of properties, but that got divided by 4 children and his wife. And then obviously I did come into it with some assets, and that's how I started. That is the truth, honest. And yeah, that did start me off, but I could have done one or two things. I could have blown it all and enjoyed my life very much. But I decided, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to make him proud.
Do you know, I really resonate with that because, you say you come from a Punjabi background, and I'm Italian, and I always use those two. If anyone's watched my episodes, I always compare those two cultures together because they are all about family and property. Like, they love family, food and property. I think that isn't that true?
Yeah.
And honestly, there is nothing to be apologetic about and how you come into property, because that is exactly what property is intended for, that intergenerational wealth, passing down your assets. It's actually very honourable that you took an investment and inherited an investment and then made it into something that it is today. And that's exactly what's going to happen to me. And that's exactly what happened to my mum. My mum and dad, they inherited, I don't know how much, but it wasn't enough for us to quit our jobs, so they still had to work full time, and they still do work full time, but they have a property portfolio on the side. Yeah. Now, what ends up happening to that portfolio in the future when it comes to me, I don't know, but I'm hoping that, given that I'm surrounded by so many wonderful brokers and I'm in the financial space, I will know what to do with it. So what did you decide to do? So let's say there's someone listening right now saying, well, I'm inheriting, I've become an accidental landlord. How can you learn the ropes of becoming a landlord and then actually managing that portfolio? What did you go through and what did you have to go through?
Okay, so look, I think there's some really good guys out there who can educate you. One of my friends, Sean Land, he's really good. But I because my dad had come from a property background and I had been sat by his side growing up, so I did pick up a lot of things, although things have changed, such as you now need to do EPCs, you now need to do gas certs, electric certs. It's quite regulated now. So how I came up to speed was I worked with my sister, we were business partners, and we used to be on, the NRLA, we were members of there, and then also there's different governing bodies out there. So I would say any new aspiring landlords out there, make sure you are getting free information, joining the NRLA, getting a good mentor and getting some good education tips. Not all the education out there is right though. That's all I would say. That's the disclaimer.
Absolutely. There's loads of courses and coaches and people teaching you to do this and that. But you're a qualified specialist broker. And of course, you deal with residential and buy-to-let. So how do you help those who are interested in property? What services and value do you add as their broker?
Okay, so for example, my experience of being a landlord, that helps because that basically allows them individuals, when they do use me, to have me as a sounding board. I'm not saying that I know everything because I don't, but as a specialist broker, I can give them my experiences, what I've gone through, such as, renovations or, the cost of works and things like that. They can use this as their guide.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you've got access to the lenders. So, if you're going to finance the property, you're going to need someone, even if you have a property coach and a mentor, they still won't be able to get you the finance because you're going to need to get advice for the finance anyway. So, the fact that you've been there, done it, have built your own portfolio, know how to get the finance, that is a perfect, if there were ever to be one. And I know you said you don't know everything, but who does? I mean, this market changes all the time. Like lenders are changing their rates and, laws and, regulations are always changing. So, it's just about knowing how to navigate and find the information with someone.
Also, Roz, what I would say is, I was talking to someone this morning. It's about having a power team, not just a power team when you have got to do your builder, your plasterer, your painter, but having a power team when it comes to your broker, your accountant, and maybe a mentor, having them people in place so that when you do see that next house, that you can just pounce on it. I sound quite graphic, but it's true. It's true.
No, you need to pounce on it these days because, so many people get, the rates might change. Someone else, offers more than you. Someone offers cash instead of, cash purchase instead of mortgage. So, loads of things are happening. So you definitely need to speak to that. That comes up a lot, the power team. So, but I want to know a little bit more about, I get you're a mortgage broker and I know you're a fine one. I know you are great at what you do. But I want to know a little bit more about this aspect of the black sheep that I would have never considered you to be. You mentioned it in your bio. Sorry if I bring it up. But, you bring it up. And I would have never, ever thought you were the black sheep, having seen you on the dance floor and, seen the confidence in your face and your smile. But tell me, where does that come from?
I'm one of 4 children. I was probably the rogue one who didn't listen, didn't really used to do what anybody. I was always the one who was a bit different to the rest. The rest of them towed the party line, and whereas me, I would always the one questioning, arguing, doing my own thing. And it's just, even though I was the favourite, I was the black sheep. But I think it stood me in good stead because I was always the one questioning things, and the rest of them all carried on and did what they needed to do. And I was always walking to my own beat. But maybe that's why I've got to where I am. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't even know what that means these days, being the black sheep, because if anything, I've noticed that the most successful entrepreneurs have always been the black sheep. So, there's something to be said. Well, yeah, because if you look at I don't know, I always mention him because he's one of my modern day favorites at the moment, which is Stephen Bartlett. He was the one that didn't pay attention in schools. He was, contracting vending machine deals and selling candy to kids instead of doing, his exams. And he was always different. And look at him now, apparently, Richard Branson couldn't read or write or, couldn't pay attention in school, and look at him now. So you always hear those stories of people that just weren't,
I used to get in trouble at school. So I used to, once my dad had a shop. So some of the people, listeners might remember this. And I took some itching powder from his shop and I poured it down everyone's backs because they asked for it. And then I got in so much trouble. But this is the kind of thing I used to do. But yeah, I used to get into
that is hilarious.
Oh no, and it wasn't hilarious at the time. But they shouldn't have asked me to do it.
Yes, so please, anyone, do not dare Jessica to do anything because she will actually do it. So I love that adventurous and rebel side to Jessica I did not know about. So you are cheeky, aren't you? I love it. But what does it mean to you, Jessica, to be on this podcast? Why did you want to be on a podcast that celebrates women in property, in finance and construction? Do you resonate with that? Or how do you resonate with that?
Completely. Look, this industry, I've been in this game 15 years. And over the years, I've always felt very alone. And over the past year and a bit, I've started being on social media. And prior to that, I very much felt like a voice that wasn't heard. And it's beautiful to be on a podcast like this because it is really celebrating us women. And we are the other half of the population. And we always get left behind and, not thought of. Even with some of my builders, over the years, I work with guys on a regular basis. And some of them don't want to work with women, even now. But obviously, I'm aware of that. And I know, and I'm quick to get rid of them people. But yeah, this is why it's so important for me to be on something like this.
I mean, I'm delighted to have you here and represent the women in the mortgage space because we that's my mission with this podcast. I have my business with Manuka Media. 99% of my clients are men. And then I looked at that and I was like, but why? Why are the men asking me to help them be more vocal, more visible on social media? Aren't they visible enough? And I love working with them, but even the men, I do have to say, everyone struggles with confidence. Everyone struggles with, that imposter syndrome, regardless of their gender. But it was because I looked at my client database and I thought, right, there's more men here that are willing to spend the money and invest in themselves and to become more visible. Why aren't the women? Because I noticed I was getting proposals out there to women and barely any of them, out of 10 proposals I would send to women, one would come back.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas on the men's side, for every 10 proposals I'd send to the male category, 7 would come back. And I'm like, well, obviously more men, both genders need to be more visible on social media, but the men are the ones that are actually backing themselves and investing in that. So then I decided to start this podcast. So thank you for being on the show, for representing women in finance and in the mortgage space, because again, a lot of women need to be, and I know you're great with social media. What has that done for your business? How have you used social media for your business?
So obviously there's some individuals out there who, for property and in relation to mortgages, don't want to be on social media because they feel as though they're exposing themselves too much. But to me, it's really, really helped me in the sense that people now know what I do. Because when I first came out as doing mortgages was over 18 months ago, it wasn't on social media and I was just literally word of mouth and people didn't believe me or trust me. Whereas I'm constantly posting, I think 4 or 5 times a day I post, and I'm constantly telling people what I do. And I think this just backs up what I'm doing, and I just think it really helps, and it helps for exposure, and it helps as well to give people that knowledge of what you are.
I love exactly that. I think the fact that you've just said, before I used to get recommendations and referrals, and it wasn't until you came out and boldly told the world, I do mortgages and I've done another, and here's another customer, and here's another customer, and here's another customer, and you're showing the evidence, that's when people start to follow and really listen. I think you have to take that leap of faith into yourself. A lot of people think, oh, but is it going to be worth posting on social media? Should I go on social media? I don't know if it's worth it. Am I going to get any leads? And I'm like, if you play small and you retract, what message are you putting out there to your customers? If you're playing small, if you're invisible, if you're not accessible, if I can't see what it is that you're doing, then what message is your brand really representing? That, I think, speaks volumes. Whereas when I see you as a mortgage advisor, I see you on the dance floor. Again, I'll mention it just in case anyone's missed it. Jessica is always on the dance floor with me. But I see you at property events. I see you networking. I see you, traveling to go to events. So talk to me a bit about the day in the life of a mortgage broker for yourself and what that looks like. But in the grand, not just Monday to Friday, but in the grand scheme of things, how do you run your business and your role?
Okay, so my portfolio is self-managed. So I'm really busy. I've got 3 children and I've got the mortgages. So it's just got to be organised. And I've got a good team behind me in my workmen. So I can literally give them jobs. So at the moment, I'm getting 2 gas certs done and a radiator is being fitted at another house. So you just got to have good guys with you. So they're on the properties, and I have a good whiteboard for my properties so that I know what jobs are to be done. And then on the mortgages, that does tend to take more of a front row to my properties because I've got existing tenants and they kind of are looked after by my workmen. So, and they're good people as well in my houses. They don't just ask for work to be done willy-nilly. And I just think the mortgages come at the forefront and the bridging. And a lot of the customers I've done stuff for are existing customers as well, that I know them, I've grown up with them, or they know of me. So once again, they're really good with me as well. Wow. I just think people buy people.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go on.
People buy people. If you show them how genuine and honest and straight up you are, then you're going to only work with certain people as well.
I always say that. I love saying people buy people, and that is never going to change, no matter how much this AI technology we're going to adopt into our businesses, especially in the game of mortgages and the property world. We are going to be requiring more and more of that connectivity, that connection that we have with a human being that we can trust and really, hang our hat on. And that's what you're building, right? You're building your connections, you're building whether it's in the rental space or within the mortgage space, that's what you're building. You're building a name for yourself within that industry. I want to throw a question in there, Jessica. What kind of areas do you invest in then? Where do you like to buy property?
So it tends to be in Leeds, not because I don't like anywhere else. I know the numbers in Leeds. I know them like the back of my hand. I did invest previously in Bradford and I've got rid of them. I did used to invest in Halifax, and it just, for me, I like to be, maybe it's a control thing, I don't know. I do like to be round and near where I am because I like to make sure that my tenants are safe. I feel they're an extension of my family. I was saying this to one of my tenants. I says, my phone is always on, even through the night. This is even for my mortgage customers. And I will normally respond. I'm probably the most unique broker / landlord that would respond because I'm always worrying, are they all right? Nothing untoward's happened. But I think they also like that. But then I also think that they don't take the mick either. They don't contact me at 2 a.m. unless it's an emergency. But yeah. I think I'm just unique. No one else is like that.
Well, I think that's that's actually exactly like my parents. So my parents only have properties in Hitchin, and maybe one, I think, in like Letchworth, which is like the next town along. Like that's like the furthest, and even that's like, I know that's like their least favorite as well. Like, you've got your favorite properties, and I'm like, you're so like, it's just because it's not in Hitchin, but that is a strategy in property, to invest where and to really research your area. And what better research than a town that you live in or a city that you live in, because that place inside out, and also the kind of people it will attract as well. So that's really important for property. Or work with someone who is from an area. So like if you have a business partner, or I'm sure like if you got a business partner from like Essex, then you could like kind of support each other, because again, how are you going to visit Essex from Leeds often? And again, your landlords might just want that extra reassurance that you're around the corner. So I like that. I think that's quite a smart strategy to have.
Yeah, I've said the same this morning. If there was someone from London who wanted to invest in me, I'm up for it, whatever. But I probably won't visit the property.
Yeah, love that. Yes, yeah, I love that. And I see a lot of collaboration happening in property anyway, you know, a lot of joint ventures. So yeah, I mean, so much is possible in this sector, and that's why I absolutely love it. Have you got any other exciting, juicy projects coming up soon? Is there another property that you're looking to bring into? Always, really?
Always. So I honestly, Roz, I literally, I'm terrible. It's like handbags. Houses are handbags to me, and I'm like, oh, what could I do? What could I buy? What could I do? So recently, I'm thinking now maybe a new strategy, because obviously my current strategy is single ASTs. So I'm thinking, I can see all the HMO stuff out there. I do HMO mortgages, and I'm thinking I need to get into this. And like, I know all the criteria points now because I've done a few HMO mortgages. So I'm like, this has to be something I try. So this is now on the horizon, definitely. This is what I'm thinking about, the HMO thing.
Yes, I was thinking that too. I was thinking, you know, I like you were saying about inheriting a portfolio. You know, I think my mum and dad have, you know, done the buy-to-let single AST quite well. You know, they've like been quite solid with that. I think if I were to expand on that, it would be more down the commercial route or like HMO route. So I'd love to own at least like one commercial property where I could say like I've got my one, you know, commercial tenancy, because there's, you know, different properties.
Yeah,
exactly, and they behave differently during different climates. So I'd love to get into like maybe a bit of commercial, a bit of HMO. So yeah, who knows? I'm still researching and still discovering what to do there. I've had to pick up myself a lot since the pandemic. Obviously, the first thing we bought was for me to become a homeowner. So I became a homeowner. So I own a residential property with my husband. But then soon after that, like immediately after that, the pandemic happened. I lost my job, and I feel like I'm a bit set back at the moment because I had to start my business and grow that from scratch. And, you know, I feel like property will be like the next thing that I'd like to tackle, basically. Still on that.
And you'll do it 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've got all the right people around me. I've got the exact power team that I need, and I've got my family as property mentors. I don't even, you know, they are the best mentors I could ask for, because it's been in our family for generations. So we definitely know about the longevity of keeping wealth and growing it. So I'm confident. It's just about the finances, isn't it? And I don't know. I think the biggest thing that's holding me back is, from a financial point of view, is we've been able to raise our portfolio through deposits, savings, and equity. What a lot of property gurus teach is like using other people's money and, you know, getting investors. And I'm just not that person. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I'm holding myself back, and maybe I'm looking at investors all wrong. But I've just done it that way.
Our last project, we used investor finance, but it wasn't from separate individuals. They were from like friends and family. So, but I do agree with you. Most of my portfolio hasn't been raised from investor finance, but I do think there is a skill to be gained from doing that. The positive of getting the investor finance from friends and family is the interest rates are a lot easier, because you could like just shake on it and say,
yeah. That's the thing. I think my hesitation, I already used the friends and family income, well, my mum and dad's, bank of mum and dad, to get on the property ladder. So, you know, it just feels a bit like I can't keep asking for more money just to do, you know, they would go, we've been talking about doing an investment together. But again, like there's so many things to consider, like, you know, their age versus my age. So the what we're able to get, there's so many things. I know you know this stuff, but you know, it's something I'm researching, and I'm not going to get into it lightly until I know my numbers and my strategy. So, but listen, Jessica, you've been a fantastic money honey on the show. I really, really am so grateful to have this undivided attention with you, like this quality time that we never really get to have, do we? Because we're always like amongst other people. So nice to be able to share just like this private time together. So if those people that are resonating with your story, maybe they're based in Leeds, maybe they have a portfolio themselves, or resonate with your heritage, like how can people reach out to you and stay connected? Where are you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms. I'm on Instagram. It's Jessica Mortgages on Instagram. Facebook, Jessica Mortgages. Cheesy. And then on LinkedIn, I'm Jessica Reehal Mortgages. Reehal is my surname. And then on the final one, I'm even on TikTok. So I'm on it all. So you can contact me through there.
Lovely. Yeah, I love a broker who embraces TikTok. So yeah, I've been loving your content, Jessica. Absolutely fantastic content, guys. If you want to learn more about the property game, you know, what it's like to be a mum, a property portfolio landlord, and also a mortgage broker, you'll get so much inspiration from Jessica's content. I promise you will not be disappointed. But anyway, I thank you again for being here. And if you are new to this show, guys, if you're new to the Money Honey, oh, my pleasure. Really, really great to have you. But yeah, if you're new to the Money Honey, guys, remember, we are on every major platform. So please choose your favorite platform to subscribe, wherever you're listening. And subscribing actually really helps the show grow, so that I can continue to share these voices that are unheard, to share these stories. And the bigger the podcast, obviously, the more guests I can bring on. And you too can even become a guest if you wish. If you have a story that you want to share, no matter how big or small or how new or old the story is, I'd love to hear from you. All you have to do is apply just by, emailing us or sending us a direct message. If you'd like to be on the show, then we'd love to hear from you. And to all our loyal listeners, thank you so much once again for being here, for supporting the women who show up to share their story, and for giving them that safe space to tell it. So thank you again. I'm your host, Rosalia Lazzaratili.